Oh no. Oh no,
Uh-oh.
boys and girls. We're live.
Much to Tangelos and other creationist threats, we are live.
God damn headhunters. they will not leave you alone.
Nope.
Okay. Anyway, so last night we had some interesting things.
Yep.
Standing for Truth. Had Sal Cordova on talking about protein improbabilities. And then I got on and I did a little trolling. And I told Anthony Maurice that abiogenesis was false. and of course, he went on about how stupid I was and how I played chess in the toilet. I don't know I don't know why chess and toilet go together in that man's mind, but he went on and on about chess in the toilet. And then I trolled him a little bit, and then SFB Mod came on, and so I asked SFB Mod, has he had any quantum physicists, or has he had any jobs as a quantum physicist lately? And he said, the last job I had at SpaceX, I worked with relativity. I'm like wondering, what did you do with relativity at SpaceX?
I'm sure that's definitely an official job title and not somebody making something up.
Yeah, right. Chief of Relativity at SpaceX. I was in charge of all things relating to all other things, apparently. So it was absolutely fucking amazing. But let's see. I wonder if this share screen would work. So I went on, and then they started talking to me. And then SFT said, you should watch the beginning of this broadcast because we mentioned you and we were talking about you. And it turns out they were talking about Saturday Night at the Atheist.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And at Saturday Night at the Atheist, we had, I'm not sure if this is going to work. This might be too big. Can you see that? Wait a minute. What the fuck? Okay. Is that visible?
What's going on there?
To anybody? These are comments from Saturday Night at the Atheist, our Satan show. Did you notice I actually spelled it Satan this time because it was Halloween?
Yep.
Clever. I'm fucking clever that way. I mean, production values here are they're just so natural for us.
Oh, those are all the comments.
Anyway, Sal said, hidden Markov analysis shows all proteins do not have a common ancestry from a single gene. And he was talking to Emo. And I said, why the hell would it come from a single gene? And and then Emo said, who claimed that they all would share a common ancestral gene?
No.
And then Salvador buckles down. He goes, call me Emo. So you don't believe in universal common ancestry of all genes?
No.
So call me Emo denies common ancestry of all genes, proteins? Thanks. So you deny universal. So he told me, so you deny universal common ancestry? Thanks. And then he says hugs. And then I was just getting you to admit you actually deny universal common ancestry for proteins. If you could deny UCA for genes, what's stopping UCA for anything else? And
really? Wow.
And then he says, oh, yeah, argument from contradiction. The best proof of special creation is showing the Earth and or fossil records are young. That's what SFT's position. Anyway, so that was
whoa. That's some hardcore stupid.
I know.
Oh, okay.
And
Salvador, you claim to have studied biochemistry. Why would you think that we think that all proteins evolved from a single common ancestor? Like, if you've studied protein biochemistry, you know that certain protein domains are responsible for certain catalytic activity. And it's just not possible for all of them to have generated from a single ancestor.
Okay, so listen to this. So then I went back and I looked and saw what they wrote, and they deleted all my comments because I did call them ignorant after this. I said, you guys are so ignorant. You need to get a book. You need to figure out how. You need to get a textbook and figure out how reality works. Because I'm telling you,
there, trying to break through the gates of hell. There at the Saturday night Satan worship.
Fuck. Sorry, I was playing back fast because there's no other way to play this shit back, right?
Yep.
Okay.
There, trying to break through the gates of hell. There at the Saturday night Satan worship over at Speed of Sound's channel. And I was just typing in the chat. And I said, and you could see that in the chat. Let me highlight it. I said, hidden Markov analysis show all proteins do not have common ancestry from a single gene. So a lot of times evolutionists keep saying, oh, there's common ancestry. I said, well, it's more subtle than that. There's no common ancestry in proteins. Do you agree or disagree? And of course, Speed of Sound says, why the hell would it be from a single gene? And then Call Me Emo said, Salvador Cordova, who claimed that they would or should all share a common ancestral gene? And so I challenged them. So I said, it's Speed of Sound. It shouldn't descend from a single gene. All the major gene families don't have a common ancestor, best as I can see. Agree or implicitly disagree? And they responded some more. Call Me Emo said, Call Me Emo. That name reminds me of Tick Me Elmo. Anyway, Call Me Emo said, no one is claiming they were derived from the same ancestral sequence. You're arguing with yourself here, which I wasn't actually. But anyway,
yes,
I responded.
You are.
So you don't believe in universe.
Look at the comments he's making. So he's claiming initially that that hidden Markov analysis shows that we don't have all protein families do not share common ancestor. Okay, that's kind of what we believe. That's consistent with my own beliefs about proteins and how they probably formed in terms of abiogenesis.
No one believes they have a common ancestor ever.
Yeah, and my point is that there likely were multiple families of proteins that arose from independent origins that probably were encoded separately in a primitive genome. And from there, they evolved and diversified into other families of proteins.
Right. If there was one gene and it had to be transcribed from DNA to a protein, then what the fuck would transcribe it?
It doesn't make sense, right? Unless you have some protein that's capable of both replicating itself and able to function feasibly with mutations being incorporated into it. That's a very odd supposition to make.
Let's get rid of the rest. Let's roll through standing, and then we'll talk about this.
Universal common ancestry of all genes. And Emo said, no, not all genes are derived from the same ancestral genes.
Or let's fucking go back to the
Emo denies. So I said,
okay.
Emo, Call Me Emo denies universal common ancestry of all genes, proteins. So I said, thanks. Speed of Sound agreed. No universal common ancestry of genes. And so I just kind of rubbed it in. I said, so you deny universal common ancestry of all genes and proteins too. Thanks. Okay.
You see how they debunk themselves? You notice how they debunk themselves and admit, looks like indirectly, I don't even think they have realized it, Sal, but you've gotten them to admit a position contrary to universal common ancestry and what they hold to. And they look rather angry there too, Sal, while you look calm, confident, collected as usual.
Angry? No, we were so fucking shocked at what he was saying that
so
we were angry.
What I'm genuinely confused about, and this is a question for Sal more than it is for Standing, because I know Standing doesn't know shit about fuck. Sal, where exactly in a thesis regarding, or a hypothesis regarding abiogenesis or the general theory of evolution, does it demand that all proteins share a common ancestor, or that that's a conclusion? what universal common ancestry states is that all life shares a common ancestor.
Yeah, they don't get that.
But that doesn't necessarily imply that all proteins share a common ancestor. Now, it might be the case that they do, although it seems more plausible to me to say that there were several families of proteins, maybe 10 or 12, that over time diversified, maybe, through genetic errors and copying mistakes in early primitive translation. There was some mixing and matching occurred that subsequently gave rise to new families of proteins.
Whoops.
But I don't understand where he gets this idea that all proteins must share a common ancestor.
I don't know. It's just like they think that that's part of it, and obviously they don't understand that these chemicals were not the same as what they are in the current cell right now today.
Mm-mm.
They think that the cell. Okay, and fuck. Enthymemes. Basically, they put their conclusion into their thinking, like the way they think God poofed the cell into existence, right? And they project that onto us. That's what we think. That God that basically this one gene poofed into existence and evolved into a bunch of other genes. I mean, talk about absolutely missing the fucking point.
Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, right, I know Sal's a creationist, and I'm thinking he probably keeps up a little bit with abio research, but I'm confused where he got this idea from specifically. That all proteins share a common ancestry.
Okay, how can you look angry?
Because I think what he's conflating is that certain major gene families have evolved. Some of them do share a common ancestor. With more primitive genes that you can find within earlier species. Yeah. And it's clear and documented that.
Yeah, there's a lot of common ancestry in families.
Yeah.
But no one ever believed that. And that's what I meant by pudding. They actually think that somehow, wherever this developed, it had to have developed in some sort of a pudding-like substance that was the same everywhere. All the chemicals were the same. You had to have all the right chirality. You had to have all this shit all set up in the beginning. And
next time they will say everything has to come from the same atom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How did it evolve from hydrogen? I can see Kent over.
My view personally is that abiogenesis life as a phenomenon probably had to have been the components of life most likely formed in different environments, and that there's probably some geochemical mechanism in place responsible for the mixing and kind of process that's responsible for the emulsification of these chemicals.
Well, of course, there's still a debate going on about abiogenesis, but from what I have read, it's most likely a single environment. But then, anyway, I highly recommend Nick Lane's book, The Vital Question, on this, because he does talk about it very, very well.
I did read that book.
I have read a few review articles which say that there's certain components that seem to most often form, so there's some components or amino acids that form only under dry conditions, whereas others only form under cold, wet conditions.
Yeah, but I have seen that Nick Lane's response is even those type of reactions can take place in hydrothermal vents.
Mm. I guess for me it's just you need an environment that'd be very dynamic. So I mean, to accommodate kind of all the necessary conditions, you would need either an environment that's changing over time or an environment where
look at Demeter.
This is also something that I have seen. Maybe we read upon different individuals. It's a bit, of course, some people are more the hydrothermal camp, and others in the atmosphere lining camp or something like that.
Yeah, I think the hydrothermal.
I have seen it. There was one research called Eric Smith. He emphasizes actually it's calm conditions with catalysts that create more of a selection towards the things that you need for life, as opposed to the like in high energy environments you get stuff that you need, but you also get a lot of stuff you don't need, like the opposite chirality, and also a lot of messy stuff that interferes with the normal processes. But of course, it's still a debate. I'm not an expert on this, but it's just what I have read so far.
No, I've read a little bit into like hydrothermal vent hypotheses, and I think they're actually very interesting because hydrothermal vents do allow for like hot-cold cycles, in the sense that, so when you're very close to a hydrothermal vent, it's very hot.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think it's very basic.
And there's also temperature gradient, like on the outside rim, it's cooler than the inside. Yeah.
So there's both this kind of chemical gradient that's occurring, but also a temperature gradient as you move away from that hydrothermal vent.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, the field has a lot going on in it, and it's impossible to keep up with it all. But it's interesting to see the types of environments we know from known chemistry about how life had to form, or how certain components of life had to form, and experiments trying to simulate how those things could have come together.
Yeah. Let's not forget Demeter.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a entire theory he's working out on this very thing.
I think he would, and I think he would say even that his hypothesis could work under hydrothermal vent conditions.
Yeah. Well, I think his step is, of course, the hydrothermal vent conditions propose the metabolism first. But of course, Demeter's hypothesis doesn't contradict that. It can be a phase after the metabolism first stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of these different warring camps between hydrothermal vents and drying and hydrating pools, they all need to get together, because it was a mix of all of those things. Mm-hmm. Because all of those things were important in the biotic or prebiotic content of the earth, the makeup of the chemicals, and just what happened. And I'm sure it didn't happen in one place. And with Demeter shows you that there are millions or billions of different mRNA or RNAs and protein stabilized RNAs that pop up. And out of these, a whole huge suite of proteins developed. And then when it got to the point where it could replicate, when you had the right RNA so that you could replicate RNA and transfer RNA to protein and then back again, you ended up with that loop. And there was nothing in there about common ancestry, for Christ's sake. But I realized, and then I posted something, I said, you guys are so ignorant that you're scaring me. I said, you need to go and read a basic textbook and try to figure out how reality works. And then they deleted all my comments.
Of course.
Motherfuckers.
When you hurt the feelings, it's going to get really bad really fast.
We're really going to hurt their feelings a lot, because Sal, Cordova, and all of them, their thinking is so tied up in the Bible. And I made this point, I don't know, somewhere else, maybe on one of the weather reports. What the fuck are you? Are you cutting paper?
It's not me.
Oh, no. You? I thought it was immutable. Anyway, I thought Immutable was cutting paper for the kids at one of those old-fashioned paper cutters. That's what I thought of. Anyway, I totally lost my fucking train of thought now. Thanks, guys.
I agree with you that like it's quite. It seems to me that either Sal hasn't looked into abio research for quite a while.
Oh, I know.
Or they just fundamentally like misunderstand like what the function or like direction of abio research is.
Or maybe by joining Standing's hangout, he got stupider.
Could be.
Yeah. Well, the problem, and I pointed this out on some stream the other day, that what they do is they start thinking, and then they immediately think of a biblical passage, and they go and read that biblical passage, and it kind of like, because pattern matching is what we do, they see how it applies to what they're thinking. And as soon as they do that, their belief cements. They get a little bit of belief cement every time they read a biblical verse. And every time the biblical verse relates to their life, which biblical verses do, because it was written by sheep herders about life. Every time that happens, a little tiny piece of cement is added to their little ball. And eventually they have concrete. And they can't even think about what we're proposing to them without bringing in biblical passages.
Yeah, I mean,
Creationism.
when I look at like something as complex as the origin of life, the first thing I see, and the thing that seems reasonable to me at least, is that the first step of abiogenesis, and arguably the most simple like stage of abiogenesis, begins once you have self-replicating systems. Because now you have millions of self-replicating types of systems competing over essentially which one can make more copies the quickest and which ones can predominate and have competition with each other.
Of course, the metabolism first camp as the disagrees with that. But anyway, go on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I think metabolism first is actually part of the second step, which is that once you have a stable or semi-stable kind of competition between self-replicating systems, then what happens is essentially an evolutionary arms race towards the evolution of proteins that are best able to capture and manipulate resources.
Right.
So that those organisms which are self-replicating but also can consume resources the best and the quickest gain a selective advantage over those that can't.
Yeah. But of course, then the metabolism first would point out that if you have for some reason, like in a soup of organic chemicals, a replicator, then you're on the clock. You have to evolve quickly in metabolism before you use every resource in your environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think in terms of an all things first model. Basically, combine all of the models and take a look at what you got. And try to imagine what was going on the Earth in that first 200 million years.
So
imagine standing there.
The issue I think I have like with the proposal that self-replication, or not self-replication, but that metabolism first comes up with is that even if that were true necessarily, right, you're not guaranteed that the replication you have within those systems, even if they can self-replicate just because of geochemical processes, you're by no means guaranteed that that self-replication is going to be stable, or that the genetic material like remains stable through that as well. It doesn't explain how these like protocells remain stable in terms of whatever proteins they can produce or whatnot, which seems to be a fundamental requirement for the evolution of these protocells.
Wow. My yellow highlights have faded in my Nick Lane book. He's kind of a metabolism first person, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So I'd be curious kind of how Nick Lane gets around the fact that why, like if you have metabolism first, right, why would the need for like a consistent self-replication mechanism evolve?
Yeah, there's
one of the I may not of course be recalling everything in great detail, but one of the proposals for the metabolism, one of the appeals of the metabolism first is that from the purpose of thermodynamics, life basically releases a stress that is caused by the existence of carbon dioxide with hydrogen. And when you have hydrogen and carbon dioxide, the most energy you can get out of that is by putting all the hydrogen on carbon and putting the and you get water as a byproduct and methane from that. Sorry. If you manage that, you get the most energy from out of that system. But it's very difficult to accomplish that. But life does it very efficiently, that type of reaction. And it does so by the reverse, how's it called again? Reverse citric acid cycle.
Yeah, reverse Krebs or
reverse Krebs cycle, yes. And so basically, if you have that type of reaction, it maintains itself because of it's thermodynamically favorable, but also if other chemical reactions are generated that even improves that cycle, then it will be favored, and maybe self-replication is one of those things. But of course, it's very general. I don't know all the details. So I also recommend. I have not read the entire book yet, but I also recommend Eric Smith and Harold Morowitz. I don't know his name exactly, but they wrote a book called "The Emergence of the Fourth Geosphere."
Really? I have not heard of that.
The full title is. Let me see here.
This my typing sound angry?
It's a very detailed book, so it may not be layman friendly. But if you want to know the full story in extreme detail, you can read this: "The Origin and Nature of Life on Earth: The Emergence of the Fourth Geosphere" by Eric Smith and Harold Morowitz.
Yeah, I'll put it in chat. I'm buying it.
Yeah. Also, I highly for a quick. Maybe if you want to know the quick story, you can look up Eric Smith's presentations on YouTube. But they are always very neat to watch. I would say.
Holy shit! It's $42. God damn it!
Yeah.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna do that? Oh, I'm unemployed, but a headhunter keeps calling me. Like calling me a lot. Yeah, $42 is the cheapest. Holy shit, $50. Is this book? Let me take a look at the contents here and see what the hell I want to do about it.
One of the appeals of that scenario that I mentioned, like if you have CO2 and hydrogen, which is provided in the hydrothermal vent, and you make them react to form the methane, model methane. It's basically a rolling down a hill. It makes life necessarily for relieving the stress. Like for example, if you have a stress caused by electricity in the atmosphere, like the ground is negatively charged and the clouds are positively charged, for example, maybe all the way around. I'm not sure. Then it will form lining as a means to release that stress, and life is basically the equivalent of that, to release the chemical stress formed by CO2 and hydrogen, at least at the origin of life. Now we have oxygen, which makes everything quite different, of course. Yeah.
You got nice little pictures like that.
Yes, it's a good picture.
That's a Nick Lane. That's
that picture also contains, for I think, hydrogen and CO2 and right? I think so, right? You see it.
Let's see, water. What the hell we? Just hydrogen ions, alkaline laminar flow. Alkaline.
Yes. So go ahead. Sorry.
Or the hydrothermal vents had a pH of 9 to 11. That's pretty goddamn high. And the ocean was mildly acidic at 5 to 7. So you had two different environments that are interplaying with each other.
Yeah.
And where these things met, you had, then there's, I think this is the methane cycle.
That's the reaction that I mentioned.
Yeah.
I think Peter would probably support this position that, like under replication first, it's possible that like early self-replication systems kind of leached off the free energy being given off by these kind of catalytic cycles that are occurring.
Yeah.
So
you've also the autocatalytic cycles that are like also self-replicating in a sense. Not exactly like DNA, of course, but still.
Yeah, and I think replication, we want to rush ahead to that. I don't think the early environment, it wasn't replication. It was just a lot of strangers all meeting up and basically interacting. And out of that, somewhere there was a pathway to replication, but it may have taken 100 or 200 million years to find a pathway and pop it up.
But I think hydrothermal vents kind of serve the ideal purpose for that, though, because like DNA or DNA-like systems require high energy for like double strands to kind of break apart into de-anneal. But those high temperatures also allow and provide enough energy for you to add more nucleotides. And once they start getting too long and they begin, sinking to the bottom where it's colder, they begin to re-anneal. So,
Yeah.
in a way, it is kind of creating this weird little self-replication cycle, or at least potentially can favor it.
Yeah, and that's what Demeter's coming up with, and that's what we need to model and figure out how to represent. You guys let me buy that book. Why'd you do that?
I didn't say you could.
I didn't say you had to.
Yeah, but you mentioned a book. You're not supposed to mention books to me. It's like telling a crack addict where crack is.
I have to warn you. It's really technical. Although it does make use of very very neat metaphors and.
Are you channeling Standing for Truth right there? Because he always tells me it's really a technical paper. And anyway, so then, oh fuck. So after that discovery that creationists think like they're thinking this way and I'm thinking this way, you know, and we're totally, is that perpendicular?
Mm-hmm.
We're totally going off in entirely different dimensions, and they're not getting why we don't see what they see, and we're not getting why they don't see what we see. And I think the difference is that they have not had any fucking chemistry, any of them. None of them have actually ever sat down and thought about, you know, how chemicals actually work. So they don't get that part of it. They're thinking at higher levels, like at bio levels, and they're saying it's so incredible, it's so amazing, it's you know, over and over again. And then after I realized how badly they think, I was like, you know, basically face palming and thinking about the future of our fucking race, right? Because if people think that badly, what is our future? And then I went over to Praise That I Am, and I thought, okay, I'll listen to that fucker.
I'm also worried about that, and then in the coming months, I'm really nervous. Like the election of America. Like
you mean in the coming 48 hours? 48
also. But the like normally the final results will be determined on the 8th of December, right? That's when the counting stops. Usually, of course, Trump will say on tomorrow, like, no, stop the counting, I won, or something like. Yeah, he will try that.
I think by 8 o'clock tomorrow night we're gonna know.
Although the chances are that maybe Biden will still win, even though you cut off the counting. But if you can't count all the ballots, like for example, if I'm not mistaken, the mail-in ballots will be counted a bit later. There's a delay with those, and that's why they want to attempt to stop the counting, because then you prevent those votes will be counted. It's disgraceful. Like it's so blatant. I don't know why people defend Trump on this. Like of course they have been brainwashed by thinking, oh, mail-in ballots are fraudulent, even though that's not true. Yeah.
Another possibility is that Trump is going to concede with handcuffs on.
Yes, I actually, of course, I don't bet, but if I had to bet, I would make that bet that he would not go out for being forced to go out.
The heck is wrong with this thing? 2554. So, oh fuck. Yeah. So Praise did a big thing on logic and Jesus. Let's just listen to this here for a second.
Third, if logic is the product of evolution and natural selection, then the logical system we use now is merely the most useful one so far. The human species could potentially develop a new system in the future. Therefore,
that's all we need to hear. So they don't understand that logic is a description of what's happening in the universe.
Yes.
And what reality is, right? And they want to say, oh, we ground reality in God. And they don't understand that most normal human organisms ground reality in fucking reality.
You have also different types of logic. Like you have like absolute logic, like either A or not A, but you also have fuzzy logic, the things that aren't describable in clear-cut dichotomies. So it depends on the situation on which logic you want to use. Of course, some logic are more appropriate
but I mean,
than others.
like the law of non-contradiction, law of the excluded middle, and the law of identity are things that exist in reality. These, I mean, they aren't even laws; they're just how reality fucking works. I mean, obviously, if you have two rocks in your hand, one rock is the same as itself, and the other rock is the same as itself, and they're not the same as each other. And you have one rock or the other rock lifted higher. I mean, all of the laws of logic fall out of what reality is, and they can't accept reality unless it's grounded in God. Why? Why do they need it to be grounded in God rather than fucking reality? I mean, we are in this place with these laws. We don't know how they happened, but do you need to know how they happened to know that they're fucking real?
It is also important to acknowledge that these laws are like not prescriptive, that they are descriptive.
Yeah.
Like it's also the thing. Like we can't even prove that they are true. Actually, it's it's just it's difficult to explain. But we can't demonstrate the truth of these laws, because if you were to falsify them, then it's impossible.
Yeah, and then he went on and he started reading, and he was trying to figure out what an enthymeme is. And apparently they have a biblical description for an enthymeme. An enthymeme is basically a premise with a hidden premise inside of it. You'll find it in begging the question, and somebody will pop in a premise, and there is sort of by the way it's structured, there'll be a hidden meaning inside of it that everybody will just accept without thinking about it, and what they actually should have spelled out the premise. Anyway, but the biblical interpretation of an enthymeme is that God hid good little gems inside of the passages or something like that. But then he went on and he was trying to pronounce a word, and it was what the fuck? It was like conceived or something like that. It was what the fuck was it? I will find it later and put it out. But anyway, he was pronouncing the C as a hard, K. And it was a word that everybody knows, which I just can't bring to mind right now. And I thought, you can't even fucking read. And yet when he goes and reads the Bible or reads Hebrew, the guy's smart, right? And smart enough to understand Hebrew, teach himself Hebrew, and read the Bible and come up with all these meanings. But he's not smart enough to read English. What the fuck is wrong? I mean, and he's not smart enough to realize how bad his logic is. And I mean, so this is the same thing. This is parallel to what I found with Sal's thinking and SFT and all those guys. These guys are just like, what the fuck? I mean, they can't even think. I describe it as not being able to think your way out of a paper bag. I have a cat, and he gets into a paper bag, and most of the time he can think his way out. Every now and then it goes wrong. And you ever see a cat who gets stuck in a paper bag with like with handles, where the handle goes around its neck? And the cats get a little freaked out when that happens. They start running at high speed.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Loki was inside of a bag, and he was running around the room at high speed, and he couldn't see. So he kept crashing into things, and we were on the floor laughing. The poor thing. It was amazing. But anyway, these guys can't think their way out of a fucking paper bag. The laws of logic are laws. In a similar sense, the physical laws are laws, right? They're more descriptive. Describe the facts of how particular statements relate to one another.
Okay, I'm a little less nervous.
Are you not nervous? Oh, why? What?
Viewing the freaking...
Trump died?
No. Here, I put it in the private chat.
Oh.
The current election interactive maps.
Yeah, it's looking good, but man, we all got to get out there and fucking make sure everybody vote. I'm going to
And it's pretty damn
Yeah, that's scary. Okay, we got the Browns are like undecided or what?
the Browns are. Let's see, it's a toss-up.
Yeah.
But the blue are likely states for Dems, and
Yeah, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Arizona are going to be pretty critical. And fuck
Yep.
Florida. Fuck Florida.
Florida's a toss-up. That's a scary statement.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh God, that's scary.
Yeah. So I'm going to my ex-wife is going to drive over to the polls because she didn't trust mail-in voting. So I'm going to drive over there with her and stay in the parking lot and basically make sure that she's okay. Because that's the kind of fucking election this is, where you have to worry about somebody going to vote.
I feel like election day, we are all going to be like up, just like very, very tight about what is going to prevail here. Because
yeah, it's going to be a day.
Georgia and North Carolina are still throw-up states. Jesus.
I bought an extra blanket because I'm going to stay under 2 or 3 blankets all day. I'm not coming out.
Jesus, Georgia.
I might come out for a weather report.
Damn, Georgia, North Carolina, and Ohio are still throw-ups.
Hi, Brenda.
Have you guys heard of like the laptop thing?
No. Oh, you mean Biden's laptop or his
Yeah.
son's? Oh man, that was great.
It turns out that the original claim was made by a fake account with a photo of, generated by a fake AI or something like that. Like,
Oh God.
yeah, if you look it up, it's really weird. Like, what the hell? It's like I don't understand. Like, how can you be this gullible? Like they say, wake up, the deep state. Like, but when you look into it, you guys are such fools for believing this shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not talking to you, of course, but I'm referring to the other people.
And what the hell?
I don't condemn all Americans for some American stupidity. So, yeah.
I don't know. I don't quite understand what Biden's son has to do with anything. He's an adult. I mean, it's like Bill Clinton's brother. You remember Bill Clinton's brother? What the fuck was his name? He lived in he was a piece of work. But anyway, he had nothing to do with Bill Clinton, for God's sake. You know, you're not voting for his brother or his son. I don't know about early voting in Minnesota. I don't think they allow it. I think it's only on the day on Tuesday that you can vote, but you have early mail-in. But then they just federal judge apparently requires us to have all the votes in by 8 p.m. tomorrow. Otherwise, they won't be counted. And a lot of people, like, what the fuck was it? Some enormous percentage hadn't voted yet of the mail-in ballots that they sent out. Like 50% of them had not been returned yet, which is ridiculous.
It's blatant anti-democracy, and it's of course they pretend it's all fraudulent, but they have no proof of that, of course.
Yeah.
And even still, they themselves vote in mail. Like Trump voted himself in mail. He himself does it, even though he claims that it's fraudulent. He himself voted in mail.
Yeah.
It's and like this is really like I don't know how his name is. Like this is a YouTube video with somebody who goes to Trump rallies and he makes fun of them without letting them know he makes fun of them. Like it's really funny. Like these people, like he makes fun of them, but these people have no idea that he's making fun of them. And he goes like. He goes up to one guy and he says, "Do you believe in mail and vote is fraudulent?" Yes, I do. But Trump himself voted in mail. I didn't know that. But it's different. But you don't know that it's different. But you don't know it. Yeah, it's so stupid. Oh my god.
Yeah. There's this parody site that somebody recommended the other day. I can't. I'm trying to find it. I've been watching like hundreds of his videos. He's just fucking great. And
that redneck guy you recommended a few days ago.
Yeah, and it's just absolutely amazing. But a lot of people don't understand it's a parody because reality is so close to a parody these days. You can't even tell when when somebody's parroting a Trump supporter.
That's scary. That's scary.
At this point, it's so ridiculous. Like at this point, we already forgotten about like the Ukraine scandal. You know, like when he did a quid pro quo against the minister of Ukraine to dig up dirt on his political opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the Republican Party just let him off the hook on that, but it's still going. Everybody moves on to the next ridiculous thing that happens. Also, do you remember Sharpie Gate? Like Trump putting editing a map of a hurricane's path with a Sharpie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's one guy that worked for like a weather station or something. I don't know exactly, but they called the house and says like, oh, you need to correct this. This is not right. We like our protocols demand that we correct Trump's behavior on this, but that guy that got fired for that. You're no longer in this position because you want to correct Trump. Like this is exactly what things happen like in Russia. You know, like when I don't know if you're familiar with Lysenko. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Anyway, like there's this guy called Lysenko or Trofim Lysenko. He was like a neo-Lamarckian, and he rejected Darwinian evolution and also Mendelian genetics. Who was against that? Like they were just normal scientists. They got either chased out of Russia or put in gulags because of that. Of course, in the United States, it's not that bad like that, but it's still really similar to that. Like when scientists speak out, they get pushed out, and
right.
Of course Trump even selected a like I don't know his name, like you know Fauci. He got replaced by somebody else who was more in line with what Trump wanted.
Yeah,
like a surgeon or something, not exactly a pandemic specialist, but somebody else who wasn't even relevant to the field. He got picked out by Trump because he makes talking points more in line with what Trump believes, and it's politicized science, and it's really that's exactly what happened in Russia, ironically.
And like what the hell's his name? Oh God, one of the guys on Praise's channel the other day, the hillbilly guy that just recently retired. I forgot his name. Having trouble thinking this morning. Anyway, he said that he wants evolution removed from all textbooks, all newspapers, all magazines. Basically,
Hillbilly or sorry, Mr. Batman.
No, somebody worse. The guy that was on our channel, he's kind of a nice guy, but he seems to have some issues in the thinking department. The fuck's his name? Anyway, Jungle Jargon.
Oh, that guy.
Anyway, what you want to consider is 25% of Americans right now would probably be in favor of censoring scientists. And they want to change the Constitution and get back to it's a Christian nation, and we have, it was founded by Christians, and it's for Christians, and they want that, plus they want censorship. Anyway, Smokey is doing a stream wrecking Joel in an hour. If anybody wants to join, where's Leo? Huh?
You mean Joel?
Joel, yeah, Joel. So, Smokey, I might send you. Oh gosh, should I send him the link? I mean, is that? Oh, we lost Nestle. Oh, he needs to go. Okay. Yeah, Jungle Jargon. Thank you, Brainbug. But I saw it like 1 minute after I got it myself. But anyway, I wonder if I should send them the link. No, I don't think I'm going to do it. Anyway, Joel is a fucking bullshitter. I mean, he's an American bullshitter, and he's one of these guys that has to exaggerate everything that he does 100-fold. He's the guy that comes over and brags about his fucking lawn or something, and tells you all kinds of stories about things that don't exist, and it's amazing. That's another amazing problem in human beings. I mean, like adults grow up and they actually never grow up, right? I mean, fuck. You're in second grade and you go and tell everybody my dad's an astronaut, and your dad is a sanitation worker.
Does Joel have children?
Huh?
Does Joel have children?
God, I hope not. I hope he doesn't have. I hope his genes don't make it out of there. But he's got a wife and she's pretty rational, and she like he says things about her. Like he exaggerates her and then she denies it, and you could hear her, and he's doing all this bullshitting in front of her, and she's listening to it, and she's like, oh well, I love the man, I know he's full of shit, but I love him. Yeah, men don't grow up, they just grow taller. Anyway, okay, why don't we end this?
Right.
Okay. Smokey, I'm gonna watch your stream, that's for damn sure. I don't know if I can participate or not. I can't participate without doxing the poor man, and I don't think I should do that. Hopefully, Immutable will stop over there and lend a hand.
Maybe. I have a few comments to make about Joel. So
yeah. I kind of miss you having an icon or a picture or some fucking thing.
I know. Well, Nathan is working on it, and I'm going to hopefully.
Okay.
I'm gonna hope that he finishes it by the end of this week.
Okay.
Hopefully in time for Snata.
Yep. So we're gonna end this. I'm very afraid for us. I'm very afraid after what I saw yesterday on YouTube. Okay, guys. Later. End the broadcast. Bye.